Denver, Colorado. The banner still hangs from the rafters. 2023. A championship. A city that waited 50 years finally got its parade. But banners don't win the next season. And right now, in the heart of the Rocky Mountains, there's a quiet, creeping fear settling over the Denver Nuggets front office. Because the team that shocked the basketball world isn't the same team anymore. The window is closing, and the man they built everything around, the most dominant force in the sport today, is starting to look like he's carrying a franchise alone. His name is Nikola Jokic, three-time MVP, a player so far ahead of his era that historians will spend decades trying to explain how a second-round pick from Serbia became the most unstoppable offensive weapon basketball has ever seen. But greatness alone doesn't win championships. Jokic has proven that time and again. He needs a partner, a co-star, someone who can stand next to him on the biggest stage and make defenses pay for every mistake. And right now, across the country, in the Bay Area, that exact player might be available. Steph Curry, 38 years old, still one of the 10 best players alive, still capable of detonating a building with a single shooting stretch. But his team, the Golden State Warriors, is standing at the edge of a cliff they can't ignore anymore. The dynasty is over. The core is aging. And the front office knows, deep down, that the smartest move they could make is to trade their franchise legend before his value slips any further. It sounds unthinkable. It sounds impossible. But in this league, impossible trades happen more often than anyone wants to admit. So here's the question that should be terrifying every other contender in the Western Conference. What if Denver actually pulled the trigger? What if the front office walked into the most dangerous, most audacious trade in modern NBA history and pried Steph Curry away from Golden State? It starts with a name Nuggets fans never wanted to hear in a trade rumor. Jamal Murray, the same guard who hit murder mission threes in the bubble. The same guard who helped deliver the franchise's first title. But loyalty doesn't win in this league. Value does. And if Denver wants Curry, Murray is the centerpiece they'd have to send away. It's a gut punch. It's the kind of move that would split a fan base in half. But sometimes, the hardest decisions are the ones that separate contenders from champions. The money is where this whole fantasy gets complicated fast. Curry is owed over $62 million next season. Murray makes just over $50 million. The math doesn't balance on its own, which means more players have to be dragged into the deal to make it legal under the salary cap. Denver would need to attach Cameron Johnson and his expiring contract worth $23 million. In return, Golden State would send back forward Moses Moody at $12.5 million. Denver might even have to throw in a promising young rookie, Trayvon Brazier, just to smooth out the numbers. And on top of all of that, whatever draft capital and future swaps Denver still controls would likely need to be surrendered as well. Add it all up, and you get a deal worth roughly $75 million flowing each direction. A financial tightrope so delicate that it might require a third team just to hold the whole thing together. This isn't a simple one-for-one trade. This is a complex, multi-team, high-wire act, the kind of trade that takes weeks of secret phone calls and late-night negotiations to even become possible. But imagine, for a second, that it actually happens. Imagine opening night. The lights go down at Ball Arena, and out walks a starting five that would make every rival team in the league nervous. Stephen Curry running the point. Christian Braun beside him. Peyton Watson at the wing. Aaron Gordon attacking from the forward spot. And in the middle of it all, the reigning force of nature himself, Nikola Jokic, waiting to unleash the most devastating pick-and-roll partnership the NBA has ever tried to defend. Think about that combination for a moment. Jokic, a passer with the vision of a point guard trapped in a 7-footer's body. And Curry, the greatest shooter to ever live, a player who turns a single screen into a green light from 30 feet. Defenses wouldn't have an answer. Double Jokic, and Curry burns you from deep. Chase Curry off the line, and Jokic carves you up with a pass no other center on earth could even attempt. For the first time in his career, Jokic would have a teammate whose gravity matches his own. It's the missing piece Denver never had, even during their championship run. But here's where the suspense creeps back in. Because nothing this big comes without risk. Denver still has to re-sign Peyton Watson, a restricted free agent the front office desperately wants to keep. doing that while absorbing Curry's massive contract would push the Nuggets deep into the second luxury tax apron, a financial minefield that punishes teams with restricted roster-building tools and crushing tax bills. It's the kind of gamble that could backfire spectacularly if health, chemistry, or age catch up to this new-look roster. And that's really what this entire trade comes down to, isn't it? Risk versus reward. Denver would be trading continuity, trading a beloved franchise guard, trading draft capital, and trading financial flexibility, all for a chance, not a guarantee, but a chance to pair the best player in the world with maybe the most influential player of his generation. Is that a gamble worth taking? History says the teams that hesitate get left behind. The Oklahoma City Thunder are building a young, terrifying core. The San Antonio Spurs have Victor Wembanyama and a runway that stretches a decade into the future. The Western Conference isn't waiting for Denver to figure out its identity. Every single season the Nuggets stand still is a season closer to Jokic's prime slipping away without another championship to show for it. So the question isn't really whether this trade is realistic in every single detail. It's whether Denver has the courage to even consider it. Because sometimes the boldest move isn't the safest one. Sometimes greatness requires a leap that terrifies everyone watching from the outside. Steph Curry once battled the Warriors' fiercest rivals in finals after finals, forging a legacy defined by daring, buzzer-beating audacity. Maybe it's fitting that the next chapter of his career would be written the exact same way. One impossible trade, one terrifying gamble, one shot at another ring. Picture the reaction around the league the moment this trade becomes official. Rival executives scrambling to update their championship odds overnight. Fans flooding social media, arguing about whether this is genius or desperation. Because that's what a trade this seismic does. It doesn't just shift one roster. It rewrites the entire landscape of the Western Conference in a single afternoon. Think about Jamal Murray, too, for a moment. Because this story isn't only about what Denver gains. It's about what they'd be willing to lose. Murray isn't just a scoring guard. He's the player who stood shoulder to shoulder with Jokic through every playoff battle, every heartbreak, every triumph. Trading him wouldn't just be a basketball decision. It would be an emotional earthquake inside the locker room, the kind of move that tests loyalty and everything the franchise has built its identity around. But that's also what separates dynasties from what ifs. Every legendary roster in NBA history was built on a decision someone was terrified to make. Somebody, somewhere, always has to blink first and take the leap everyone else is too afraid to take. And if it works, if the shooting gravity of Curry combines with the unteachable genius of Jokic, the rest of the NBA won't just be worried. They'll be out of answers. Denver wouldn't just be a contender again. They'd be the team every other franchise has nightmares about facing in May and June. The Warriors built a dynasty around Stephen Curry's shooting. Now, in the twilight of his career, another team might get the chance to build one final masterpiece around it too. Denver has the motive. Denver has the pieces. The only thing left is the courage to make the call. And if they find that courage, the rest of the league better be ready, because the countdown to another Denver championship might already be underway.